Hey guys, what's up? So yesterday, Apple announced a brand new lineup of Mac Minis in this week of Apple announcements, and I have to say I'm actually super excited about this release. I haven't exactly been very positive about Apple lately. I mean, there have been a lot of incremental and even some disappointing upgrades. The iPhone 16 Pro Max had just a little spec bump, and the new iPad mini is still rocking the same old crappy display everybody already hated 3+ years ago. And look at the new Magic Mouse. Yes, it now has a USB-C port, but guess where it's positioned? Still on the bottom of the mouse. I mean, you can't make this shit up. But I want to give credit where credit is due, and these new Mac Minis might just be the most exciting Apple release of this year. Let's ramble.
Hold up, things go wild when I pull up. They all on me like it wants.
So yeah, Apple finally gave the Mac Mini a complete redesign for the first time in 14 years. I mean, this thing is seriously tiny, and that becomes even more impressive when we consider the amount of computing power Apple managed to cram into this tiny little body. I'm not sure how they did it, but they did, and I'm here for it. The new Mac Mini comes in at only 1.5 pounds, down from 2.6 pounds on the M2 Mac Minis, and it measures 5 inches by 5 inches. I mean, that is just nuts. Keep in mind, this is a full-blown desktop computer. And aside from the powerful insides, which we will get back to in a minute, the I/O on this thing is nothing to snarl at either. Again, considering this very tiny body. On the front, we have 2 USB-C ports and a headphone jack for easy access. And on the back, we have the power socket, an Ethernet port of up to 10 gigabits per second, an HDMI port, and 3 Thunderbolt ports that are either Thunderbolt 4 or Thunderbolt 5, depending on your configuration. And that means we have officially said goodbye to USB-A. Personally, I'm not salty about that at all. I'm not even sure I still own any USB-A accessories, and I'm always running out of USB-C ports, so for me, this is great news. And if you do own a USB-C accessory you still want to be using, you just get a USB-A to USB-C adapter. It'll cost you a few bucks and problem solved. Now, you might be wondering where that power button went. That is at the bottom now. Yep. Apple's gonna Apple. But to be fair, with all the ports we're getting, I'm sure they just literally ran out of space around the chassis, so I'll take it. I never really turn my Macs completely off anyway, and if I do put them to sleep, I usually don't use the hardware button to do so. Another very welcome upgrade is the fact that there is no more 8GB storage option. Hallelujah. 8 gigabytes has no business being an option in 2024. Now, Apple has been known to be a bit stingy on the memory options, so I did expect a bit of a price jump with 16 gigabytes as the base storage option, but to my pleasant surprise, Apple kept the price of the entry-level Mac Mini at $599, and that might just make this device the best value for money computer out there right now. Not just the best value Mac, the best value computer. And to show you what I mean, let's have a quick look at what this base model M4 Mac Mini has to offer before we move on to the M4 Pro model that I'm even more excited about. The base model M4 Mac Mini comes with the amazing M4 chip, obviously. I mean, we will test exactly how amazing this chip is once the device gets delivered on the 8th of November, and please do hit that subscribe button if you want to tag along for those reviews. But yeah, from the leaked benchmark tests, we've already seen that this chip is an absolute powerhouse, blowing all previous chips right out of the water. On top of that, like I said, we will get 16 gigabytes base storage, gigabit Ethernet, 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports, 2 separate USB-C ports, and a headphone jack, and that's all before selecting any upgrades whatsoever, and that, my friend, is a lot of computing power for just 599 bucks, or even less than that if you're on an education plan. Of course, it is when we start upgrading this machine that we see the price increase pretty rapidly. We all know Apple are the kings of upselling. Let's say you want to max out this M4 model, grab 32 gigabytes of unified memory, 2 terabytes of storage, and a 10 gigabit Ethernet port, we're looking at a price tag of 1,900 bucks, which is more than triple the cost of the base model. But with that said, I think that most regular users don't need any of that stuff. I think most people can get by just fine on 16 gigabytes of RAM, and most people don't need 10 gigabit Ethernet. The only thing I would really recommend is to upgrade the storage to at least 512 gigabytes, even if that means adding $200 to the final price tag. 256 gigs really isn't a lot these days, and most of that will already have been gobbled up for system use. So I think 512 gigabytes is the sweet spot for that entry-level model, and that will buy you a fantastic powerful desktop computer at $799, which is an absolute steal. And if you decide to go for a lower storage option, there are tools to help you keep all of that perfectly manageable, such as today's sponsor, Clean My Mac. Clean My Mac is an essential tool for me to keep my Mac and my files clean and organized by quickly eliminating duplicates and by regularly cleaning up the system cache, development junk, and unnecessary files that can easily pile up and prevent essential updates. At the same time, I rely heavily on Wi-Fi during my travels, which does expose me to some risks. Clean My Mac helps me protect my Mac from malware and other unwanted intrusions by means of the Moonlock anti-malware engine. Clean My Mac has been my go-to for years because of how simple and effective it is. You really don't need to be an IT expert to use this app. The dashboard is super user-friendly and easy to navigate. What you see is what you get, and every action takes just a few clicks maximum. I usually start by running a single-click smart scan, which gives me a clear overview of what can be done to clean up and optimize my Mac. It will find junk files I can get rid of, runs a quick malware scan, and identifies ways to speed up my Mac. I can then simply click run and it'll take care of everything automatically. But Clean My Mac also gives me the option to do a deep dive per section so I can focus on cleanup, protection, or system optimization. Let's say I just used public Wi-Fi at a cafe. I don't necessarily need to run a full smart scan, but I'm definitely going to want to run a quick scan for malware. I just head over to the protection section, click malware removal, and hit scan. I have it set to quick scan, so within seconds, I'll have the peace of mind that my Mac is clean so I can close it and head back out. Every couple of days or so, at the end of the day, I'll set it to deep scan and let it do a thorough examination of the entire system, diving into every file and folder. It has become such a part of my routine that I can't really remember the last time I ran into any problems on my Mac. Oh, and the best thing is that I don't need to constantly open the app to check on things. The assistant will be there to give me helpful tips and instant fixes. The way I see it, I'm spending a small fortune on these Macs. Keeping them clean and safe is a no-brainer. If you want to check it out for yourself, there will be links down in the description below. Right, back to the video. Now, while the base model is a fantastic machine for the money, what I'm personally really excited about is the M4 Pro model, which is the first Apple device to feature this brand new chip. And it is looking to be an absolute monster. Less than 1 year ago, for the first time ever by the way, I completely spec'd out a MacBook Pro. I got the M3 Max MacBook Pro with all the bells and whistles, including the full 8 terabytes of RAM, and while this has been the best computer I've ever used easily, it was also the most expensive machine by far I've ever bought. Here in Europe, that configuration will set you back almost 8K, and that is not funny. Why am I telling you this? Well, because I'm fairly confident that this new Mac Mini in the M4 Pro configuration will match, if not exceed, the performance of my insanely expensive MacBook Pro for most things, at less than half of the price, all because of this super efficient chip. I did go to town on the upgrades because I intend to keep this machine here in the studio and potentially use it as my main editing computer, but before we get into that configuration, let's just talk about all the things we get on the base model of this M4 Pro configuration, because it is a lot. The base model comes with a 12-core CPU, up from 8 cores on the M2 model, and keep in mind that is in fact last year's model. Apple skipped one chip generation. The M4 Pro model comes with a 16-core GPU, up from 10 cores on the M2, while keeping that 16-core neural engine. However, the neural engine on the M4 chip is designed specifically to handle all of the upcoming Apple Intelligence features extremely well. The base model starts at 24 gigabytes of unified memory, which is more than most users will need, and a base storage of 512 gigs, which, as I said earlier, is a lot more sensible than 256 gigs of storage in 2024. And let's not forget that the M4 Pro model comes with 3 Thunderbolt 5 ports instead of 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. And that is a feature that should definitely not be overlooked, because while there isn't that much of a speed difference between Thunderbolt 3 and Thunderbolt 4, there is in fact a massive jump in speed from Thunderbolt 4 to Thunderbolt 5. These ports can reach transfer speeds of up to 120 gigabytes per second, which is 3 times faster than the 40 gigabits per second that can be achieved on a Thunderbolt 4 port. Now, considering that storage is the best way to save money on a Mac purchase, having ports that are capable of such high transfer speeds is a very attractive feature, because it means you can hook up a fast external SSD and just leave it there, forget about it, and dump all of your large files right on that drive. And at those speeds, you can even work straight off the drive. That should be absolutely no problem. I am super excited to try these new ports with some actual Thunderbolt 5 SSDs that we will undoubtedly see coming to the market very soon. That base configuration comes down to a price of $1,399, and that buys you a blazing fast machine that will be future-proof for some years to come. Now, like I said, I did spec out the configuration when I ordered the M4 Pro Mac Mini, all except the storage. I upgraded the chip to a 14-core CPU, 20-core GPU, and I did splurge on that 64 gigabytes of memory simply because I use my machine primarily for video editing and I want to have that headroom. When you use a lot of multi-camera clips, color grading, plugins, etc., RAM gets eaten pretty quickly. So the 64 gigabyte upgrade is a peace of mind purchase for me. I did compromise on storage, going for the 2 terabytes option. That will give me enough to edit at least one large project straight from the computer at any given time, and for everything else, I'll just be relying on external Thunderbolt SSDs. The extra $100 for a 10 gigabit Ethernet port is a complete no-brainer for me because we did in fact get 10 gigabit Ethernet here in the studio. I mean, Belgium may be behind in some things, but this internet speed is absolutely insane, so I would be stupid not to make use of it. My M3 Max MacBook Pro requires an additional Thunderbolt to 10 gigabit Ethernet dongle to make full use of those speeds, but that thing runs seriously hot, and I much prefer to have that port built straight into the machine. And that brings the grand total of this spec'd out M4 Pro Mac Mini, except of course the storage, to a grand total of $2,899, which is a lot of money, of course, but it is nowhere near what I paid for my MacBook Pro. But this one comes with the brand new chip and the Thunderbolt 5 ports. The only thing I'm slightly worried about is how this Mac Mini will handle heat dissipation. Apple did showcase a new thermal management system, which does look promising on paper, but we'll have to see how often the fans kick on and how loud those fans will actually be to manage all that power in such a small body. Anyway, we'll find out soon enough. I should be getting the device around the 8th of November, and of course I'm going to be going at it straight away. Don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on those reviews, and do let me know in the comments if you want me to review the base model M4 as well. I'll be happy to do so. What can I say? I'm genuinely excited for this new Mac Mini. I can't wait to put it to the test. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you guys for the reviews.